Good morning to you. Welcome into my house. I'm Dan Gresham. It is indeed a Monday. It is the 23rd day of August for 2021. Glad you've stepped in for a couple of minutes. We try to do these at least 3 times a week. We call them at-home updates. They are not intended to be newscasts. They are simply intended to be conversations between you and me. That's it. From your house to my house to your house, just to kind of talk about some things that are going on in our community to make sure that we're all on the same page. And especially on Mondays, because I don't know about you, but the weekends, sometimes you can just kind of turn away from everything that's happening. You're enjoying yourself. You're just, I don't want to say distracted. I just want to say you're living a life, right? And if that's the case, you come back on a Monday and you can kind of be overwhelmed. It's like, what is all this? What's going on? So I always try on Monday, 5 things that you need to know before you get into your work week. 5 things you need to know. So we're going there. But before we get to the 5 things you need to know, just the reminder, this is a Facebook post. It's also on YouTube, but it's a Facebook post. So if you have something on your mind this morning, you want to reach out to me, all it takes is posting up on a comment, just like you would any other Facebook post. You can say, good morning, where you're watching, what's your concern, what you'd like to see us talk about in the future. Hey, Dan, can you reach out to fill in the blank? And we'll see what we can do to do that. All right. We will try our best to reach out to some of those folks. It's pretty simple. You post them, I see them. Tammy, good morning to you. Carlene, we are doing well at my house. I hope you're doing the same at yours. So you see what I'm saying? We can interact with each other here on our at-home update. So feel free to do that. Let me know where you're watching from. And it's always nice to have you around. All right, so let's do this. As I mentioned, I will come back. Anything I don't read on the air, I read while we're off the air. So I do see them. And I promise you, I read every one of them before we go on. I would also ask you to do me a favor, hit me with a thumbs up. That's the like button, if you don't mind. Analytics are a real big part of what happens on social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or anything else that you want to talk about. And those likes or that thumb or any other, it's just an indication to these various social media companies as to what you're going to find and what's going to pop up on your screen. So the more of those you have, the more likely they are to show up, whether somebody's searching Southeast Texas news or my name or whatever it is, which just helps us get the word out, right? So we'll continue to do that. Let's see who else is checking in this morning. Dovey, sorry, I should put my glasses back on. Cliff says, you haven't played lately. When did you lose the beard? Well, it fell off about a week ago. Woke up one day and suddenly it was gone before I went to see my mom. You know how that works. Tamika Grant, good morning to you. Kenneth, good morning. Keisha, good morning to you. Hi, Jenny James. Diane's up in Pineland watching this morning. Glad you're there. Also, Robin, good morning. Tommy, good morning. I see Janetta is up this morning. It's always good to hear from my friends. Kristen, good morning to you. Amanda Morgan, I watch you with my grandmother, and now I watch with my kids. I like it. And I've been around long enough that you could probably watch with your grandkids as well, and your great grandkids, seems like. But anyway, again, Shelly, good morning to you. Pat's up this morning with us, as is Tamika. All right, let's do this. You can continue posting up. I want to get to the 5 things that I think, this is me personally, I think you need to know about what's happening in Southeast Texas before you go out the door and you get involved with all the other things that are going on. The first thing you need to know about is some changes that are happening. Let me remove this item so you can see a little bit better. Coming up today, this just posted this morning, the BISD, Beaumont Independent School District, holding an emergency meeting to discuss face coverings. Remember last week, they did not vote on this. Right now, they're optional. You got to believe that's going to change. The meeting is happening at noon. And why would this change? And why would I suspect this is going to change? Because right here, the headline from this next story. This still comes back to COVID on campus. King Middle School in Beaumont is closed today. Closed today because of the rise in COVID cases on campus. Now, that's significant. You have enough of them on campus, they feel like the only thing they could do is close it. I checked, and I'm not saying it's absolutely without question, but I think, as far as I could tell, this might be the first campus in Texas to close because of COVID. Now, again, I did what I could, and I'm not going to say I've searched everything, but that's pretty significant. So that's why we're coming back to having this emergency meeting. I'm sure the BISD wants to do as much as they possibly physically can, right, to avoid having to close any other campuses. We heard the superintendent, Dr. Allen, say last week, that she may not be mandating it at that point, but if it became necessary, and now we know many of the other districts, in fact, we have 2 in Southeast Texas that have already taken the action. You have both West Orange Stark, or West Orange Cove, if you will, which includes West Orange Stark, that has our high school that has already put it in place. Now, they're not calling it a mandate. Well, I guess they are to some degree, but they're also saying this will now be part of our dress code. Although Governor Abbott has not been, he's kind of backed off on the mandate issue after he went to court, the restraining orders, all those things happening. And then, of course, you had the pushback from Austin, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, all those school districts there saying, look, we're going to require students to wear a mask because of the number of the cases that we're seeing in the classroom. And we feel like this is a way to mitigate the problem to some degree. So we'll see. But anyway, today at noon, KFDM and Fox 4 will be there. We'll have the latest for you, both on air and online. We'll get you up to speed again. I also wanted to show you one other thing related to this, and that is, if you're not familiar, Beaumont ISD, and I have a feeling probably other schools have it as well, and that is a COVID tracker that you can go in. If you have kids in the BISD and you're a little bit nervous, or you're just an interested party, and you want to know, so how many cases are there? And this says that it is updated every 5 minutes, and it may be, but I assure you it hasn't probably been updated since at least Friday because the students haven't been there. But at last report, there were 44 active cases among students, 19 among teachers, and 20 among staff. Now realize, at least on paper, BISD is a school district with approximately 17,000 people involved. So when you start adding those up, right, even when you're getting close to 80, for the numbers, it's still a very small percentage of students, 0.48, and teachers is 1.65. But when you look at the numbers, and I'm not sure that these numbers include King, because it only shows one student at King. So again, I don't know how recent these numbers are or how accurate they are, but I just wanted you to have the knowledge that there is such a thing as the BISD COVID tracker that exists if you find it to be something that you want to go check on. Sorry, trying to get us back to there. There we go. And if that's something you want to see, then you certainly have the ability to go check it out. All right, so that's one. That's number one. Number two, the other thing I think that you probably want to be aware of that's going down today has to do with Jefferson County. Jefferson County is preparing to open a COVID infusion, and I'm sorry for the advertising on the side. I'll try to make this bigger, but obviously Dan's looking for a new pair of glasses, so everybody has to share my search with me, I guess. New pair of frames. Jefferson County, though, is preparing to open a COVID-19 infusion treatment center. Again, the idea is to divert people who might be going to the hospital by using these therapeutics that hopefully will keep them out of the hospital. It won't overwhelm the healthcare system. You can go and read more about this. You can find out it is a joint effort. It is not just Jefferson County, it's also Orange and Hardin counties that are involved in this. And this infusion center would be at a location, a former emergency center facility that has closed. And I believe they're leasing it. It's on East X Freeway near Target. And they're planning and hoping to have that up and running before the week is out. All right. Also this morning, I guess it's 3 or 4. Number 4, really, in my mind, because the first 2 stories really are 2, may have come across as one. But a very concerning story from over the weekend. Report of a armed robbery that turned into a shooting at a Beaumont store that left 2 female employees injured. It was on College Street, and the robbers shot 2 female employees at the business and then took off. So that, to me, is something you're going to hear some conversation about, especially, I think, in the Hispanic community, because that's where this took place. Interesting conversation. You can go and watch this story about how involved that community might be with policing in Beaumont. All right. So I got one more for you, and then I'm going to get you out of here and get you on your way this morning. And that is, this one kind of comes home to a lot of us. If you have been in this community for any period of time, you may remember some of those great rivalry games that were played in football here in Southeast Texas at Babe Zaharia Stadium. Well, and it's also certainly, it's an icon. It's something you drive by, a landmark. Maybe that's a better term, but it's a landmark that you drive by on I-10 and you see the stadium. And as I mentioned, through the years, there have been some tremendous games played. I can remember broadcasting, doing play-by-play from that press box years ago. Before other schools had these large facilities in play in. And now, of course, the BISD has a massive stadium that all of the district games are played in. So it's not being used anymore. So it became apparent that it was time, because of the way that it was going down in use and up as far as trying to keep it usable. In fact, they're not using it anymore. So the school board has decided to demolish it. They'll be tearing the bleachers down beginning today. And then they will eventually, which I think is kind of interesting, they're going to build a bus barn at that location. And if you're not familiar, the current bus barn for the Beaumont ISD, their transportation hub, not in a good location, one that is flooded in the past. So this gives them a chance to kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. They get that stadium out of the way, or something that is a non-use, and then they can kind of repurpose it and also help themselves at the same time. But as I said, there were some great football games played in there, and there were some good players who cut their teeth in there. A lot of Southeast Texans know what I'm talking about, who spent their Friday Night Lights experience right there in that stadium. So kind of sad to see it go to some degree, but of course it will be slowly going down. But I would think that it won't take long. There's not a whole lot to a stadium, right? For folks who know how to take it down in pieces. All right, I want to get out of your hair this morning. Again, 5 things I felt like you probably should know before you go out into the day. Reminder 2, hit me with a like, give me a comment if you want to. I promise I'm about to go read them. In fact, let's see what's popping up this morning. We can just kind of go. Lucy, good morning to you. Carlene, always away around stuff nowadays. I'm trying to read them. Jenny Foster, young man looking good, lost the beard. I did. And somebody said, you look 10 years younger, and at your age, 10 years is a lot. I said, thank you. I think that's a compliment. I certainly will take it as one. Tracy over in the Woodlands, good morning to you up in Woodville. Hi, Lisa. Hope you've got a good day planned for yourself. Go out and do the best you can with what you got, right? That's always kind of the idea. I appreciate you all dropping by this morning. Remind you too, real quickly, that we have a lot of ways that you can keep up with what's going on, especially in light of the fact that we have this emergency meeting coming up at noon. A lot of kids going to BISD schools. A lot of them are wearing masks. I've seen them personally and been to some of these schools and seen them wearing, but there are still those who don't. And this would, of course, should they vote to do so, would make it mandatory like some other districts in Southeast Texas. Meeting at noon. We'll have the details coming up on Facebook, kfdm.com, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. We'll get it out there. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Morning TV Dan. You can also subscribe to the at-home updates by going to YouTube. That's Dan's at Home. Again, thank you for your time. Go out and make it a good day, and we will see you bright and early tomorrow morning on KFDM beginning at 4:30 a.m.